What is the single most important skill that is an absolute must for a designer to have? Hi, I'm Ram, the CEO of Red ID. When we hire a UX UI designer or product designer, we look for the best. During the years I've been running the company, I noticed one skill that I must make sure designers have before I hire them. It's a skill they must constantly improve and perfect, and it's a key factor for designing better products and solving difficult challenges. It's not visual capabilities, it's not wireframing, it's not any tool or software, and it's not workshop facilitation. Although that's a very important skill to have if you want to boost your design career, but that's for a different conversation. The only skill I think is most important for a UX UI designer is actually a skill that we own when we're kids. And somehow, as we grow up, we tend to lose it gradually. The most important skill for a UX UI designer is the ability to ask questions. It sounds simple, but it's really not. Many people are very bad at asking questions. As adults, we're expected to know everything, especially in work environments. People tend to be wary of asking questions because they feel that they may ask stupid questions, that the act of asking the question will make them look dumb. However, design at its core is the discipline of solving problems. And to solve problems, you have to ask questions, and a lot of them. Albert Einstein once said, "If I had an hour to solve a problem and my life depended on the solution, I would spend the first 55 minutes determining the proper question to ask. For once I know the proper question, I could solve the problem in less than 5 minutes." For a designer, a UX designer, a visual designer, or a product designer, questions are the way to get a deep understanding of the challenge. But to be able to create a culture where questions are a sign of strength and not weakness, I suggest the following. Set the scene. Create an environment where so-called stupid questions can be asked and stupid answers can be given. A good question undermines our beliefs, our initial concepts, and the sense that we really understand. Being so, they may create resentments and dismiss. Don't fall back, and don't be embarrassed or offended. You can hide behind your ignorance saying, "I don't understand." You may get some impatient looks, but you should explain that it's imperative for you to fully understand before you come up with a good solution. A good designer will never do exactly what she was told to, and she shouldn't. She will design a solution to the problem framed by the questions she asked. One tip for the people who answer these questions: for me, if I get asked questions and I feel a bit angry or impatient, it's usually a sign that I was asked about something I don't know and I think I should have. I take a deep breath and I say, "I don't know, we probably need to find out." The more agitated a question makes me feel, the more I understand that maybe there is something actually there worth addressing. Diverge and converge. Ask first, what could we do? And only then ask, what should we do? In design thinking, this is called divergence and convergent thinking. First expand your options, then narrow down your decisions. A good example for this is using the "how might we" form originated at Procter & Gamble. Defining our challenge by starting the question with the phrase "how might we" expands the way we think about solutions and create a positive approach to our challenge. For example, instead of "I don't want to ask stupid questions," try "how might I ask better questions?" Ask open-ended questions. Closed questions are by definition biased. This is sometimes easier said than done. The problem is that we sometimes already think we have an idea and we just try to validate our solution with our questions. In the early stages of research, before we ideate, we should expand the optional answer by asking open-ended questions and avoid leading the witness. Sometimes it's not easy, and some of the important questions we ask are purely informative. However, in many cases, it's worthwhile leaving space for additional info to sip in. The 5 whys. The most important questions usually starts with a why. Looking into the reason why things happen enable us to dive deeper into the source of the challenge. A well-known method for asking questions is the Toyota 5 whys. This technique is used to explore cause and effect relationship underlying a particular problem. The primary goal of the technique is to determine the root cause of a defect or a problem by repeating the question why. Each answer forms the basis of the next question. The 5 in the name is just a note on the number of iterations needed to resolve the problem. For example, why the battery is dead. The alternator is not functioning. Why the alternator is not functioning? Its belt broke. Why the belt was broken? The belt is beyond its useful service life and was not replaced. Why the alternator belt was well beyond its useful service life and not replaced? The vehicle was not maintained according to the recommended service schedule. So, for the question, why was the battery dead? The root cause is that the vehicle was not maintained, which is much more actionable and profound answer than our first answer, the alternator did not function. Last but not least, give time to answer. Do you remember from school when a teacher asked a question, waited 1 second and then gave an answer? It is as important to let people answer your questions as it is to ask the right ones. In many cases, one open question with enough time to answer will yield much more information than a series of pointed questions. Allow your counterpart some time to think and allow enough silence in your conversation for tension to build and ideas to flow. This skill requires a lot of practice and self-reflection. A lot of effort, but it is certainly worthwhile. That's my rant for today. It would be great to get some of your great questions in the comment section. Please make sure you subscribe to our channel and get more design, product, UX, and workshop stuff every week. See you next week.